Taelin Shettron has not only decommitted, but flipped his commitment from Oklahoma to Oklahoma State. I want to talk about it. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, we need to talk about four-star wide receiver Taelin Shettron flipping his commitment from Oklahoma to Oklahoma State and the whys of this, right? It's not enough to know the news. You got to understand why with context and really a story to contextualize. So let's start with this. When Taelin Shettron was committed to Oklahoma, Oklahoma was a top 5 2022 team in the 2022 recruiting rankings. With the decommitment, they fall from 5 to number 10 and are really down to Luther Borden because this is the second wide receiver in basically as many weeks to flip his commit or decommit or flip his commitment in Jordan Hudson, who decided to do that and now doesn't even have Oklahoma as a finalist for his services. SMU, Texas, and Alabama get that nod. And Taelin Shettron, who did not even waste a moment. He went straight from Norman to Stillwater. And this is the number 6 player in the top 247 and a number 633 overall recruit in the top 247. And really a consensus 4-star recruit. The kind of player you could build around and the kind of player that I think Oklahoma, and for that matter Oklahoma State, need to build around for the backbone of their football programs and what they expect to be going forward. Because that's what this is about. If you have a bunch of kids from the state of Oklahoma that form the backbone of your team, I contend you have much better opportunities to go out and win championships. Every great Oklahoma football team has Oklahoma players at the backbone of the team because you grow up around it. Your families go to school there. Your friends go to school there. Your family's friends go to school there. And that's what it is. So now with Taelin Shettron joining up in 2022, you also get Kendall Daniels, who flipped his commitment from A&M to Oklahoma State. And I expect Oklahoma State to be right there. Like they could be a top 25 team once again, especially with the way that they have been building. It's all about, can Spencer Sanders absolutely hang on to the football? Because if he doesn't throw the game away, they have opportunities to go out and win, because we all thought that perhaps there might be a lull at running back, and that's just not been the case. Even with Chuba Hubbard going to the NFL a couple years ago, he's a 2,000-yard rusher. So shout out to Mike Gundy and Casey Dunn for being able to recruit this way and continue to build in Stillwater and really being able to flip an Oklahoma commit, which doesn't happen for Oklahoma State all that often. Matter of fact, the last time I can think about this happening for Oklahoma is Kevin Peterson, who was coming out of Wagner, who flipped his commitment from OU to Oklahoma State and became an outstanding cornerback for the Cowboys. And really, they got an absolutely outstanding defense that Jim Knowles has had to build from the ground up. I really love Malcolm Rodriguez, who also comes from Wagner and is an outstanding linebacker who started out as a safety for them. And they've been able to put dudes in the NFL. Emmanuel Ogbah, I think, is one of the best Big 12 players, let alone defensive linemen, ever play in this league. To say nothing of Amen Ogbongbemiga, who is also awesome, and Jordan Brailford, who ended up getting drafted by the Washington football team, among others, right? They put out dudes. I mean, Justin Blackman won the Biletnikoff Award back-to-back years at Oklahoma State, and they hope that Taelin Shettron can be that kind of guy. And with Braylon Presley joining up in 2022 as well, and then Brennan Presley already being there, and I think he's going to be the dominant deep threat for them in 2021, you can see how this offense is already beginning to look like the kind that could challenge Oklahoma for a Big 12 championship. Now, the why of this is actually rather simple. Taelin Shettron committed on Wednesday to Oklahoma State. Taelin Shettron is, related brother, Taelin Shettron, hello, both coming out in 2022. That makes all the sense in the world to me, right? Because you have two dudes that went to Edmond, Santa Fe together, that grew up together, that live in the same household, that want to play football together. And frankly, you ain't got a spot for Taelin Shettron at Oklahoma. You got a spot for Taelin Shettron at Oklahoma State. And you tell Taelin, hey, do you want to play with me? Do you want to play over there against me every single year in Bedlam? And they decided that they would rather do this at Stillwater than do this apart from each other. And I don't begrudge either one of them that. There's a bunch of people that are going to absolutely wonder, okay, if you know that your brother ain't going to get an offer from OU, why commit to OU in the first place? Because you don't know that, right? It's not exactly clear when he committed, right? Last year. It's becoming much more clear as we go into their senior seasons at Edmond Santa Fe that it's going to take a lot. Now, what would be interesting is to find out if OU decided in its reevaluation that they like a WR Shettron and try to make a run at him as well as Taelin, but I don't think that's what's going to happen because Oklahoma's been in a pretty good position, especially as it has been recruiting in June like most other programs. They hosted 50 visitors at the Champ U barbecue. They normally host 30 in a non-COVID year. So they've got a lot of dudes that are really taking a look at them. And I think as we continue to look at really who the quarterback is going to be in the upcoming class, that it's going to be interesting, right? Because Malachi Nelson's going to make a decision here in the next couple of weeks, and that'll tell us a lot about what this class can be, let alone what it is. But at the top is still Ohio State, who has Quinn Ewers committed, along with many others. Quinn Ewers is one of 6 players in the history of the recruiting ranking era to receive a 1.000 rating from the composite, that is ESPN, Rivals, and 247, all 3 networks that actually publish rankings for, thousands of players each and every year. So that's not a small thing. And then you take into account that Oklahoma has been building at other positions here, right? Being able to bring in dudes out of the transfer portal, as Lincoln Riley has been able to do, is also going to help you tremendously because they went and got Mike Woods from Arkansas, right, out of the portal. You could make an argument that that's a spot for Taelin Shettron, okay? There's a lot of different ways to do the roster management thing, and that's one of the reasons that I love the way that the sport is growing and the way that we're including the transfer portal and what name management like is going to bring about as it comes really tomorrow. And we're going to hear about a bunch of deals, I'm sure, let alone, I would not be surprised to find out that JT Tuimoloau announces his decision to commit wearing some hat from whatever, right? Because that would be the way that I do it, and that would be the way that I set it up. But now you're going to see more schools, I think, take a look at those sorts of things. But as it relates to Taelin Shettron and WR Shettron, who wouldn't want to build around 2 men who are related, who are going to Oklahoma State, who want to play ball together and tell that story over and over and over again? So shouts to him for being able to get this done and for really going with his brother as opposed to sticking with, quote-unquote, a commitment. I get it. I want the commitments to mean something too because that's how we keep score and that's how we count. But outside of that, I want the kids to have a good time. I want them to have fun. And if they get to play with their families, that's what it's all about for me. All right. That is it for me. Deuces.